The sharpest mind dissect the hottest topic shaping our world today.
Don't miss out on the conversation everyone will be talking about.
Join Fuad Saeed as he dives deep into the heart of the matters, exploring the issues that matters most to you.
And there is no subsidy in that sector, according to the government. So what you have, and the government is very reluctant to accept this, that we are funding the discos, they are cash-strapped. And so the government is trying to raise money for them. And that is why...
Tune in to Political Roundtable every Sunday at 6 p.m. only on Mainland 98.3 FM. Political Roundtable, where politics meets passion. Stay informed, stay engaged. Stay engaged.
Had a rumor that you were searching for the station to give you joy, laughter, and happiness. I had a rumor that the station you're searching for is right here. I mean, here. 98.3 Mainland FM. The sound of Lagos.
We are the voice. We are the info. The convo never stops. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
Tune in to Mainland 98.3 FM.
Join us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM.
For the freshest tunes, hottest shows, and the latest news.
Why Mainland 98.3 FM?
Non-stop music and entertainment, engaging talk shows and interviews, up-to-date news and weather.
Follow us now and be a part of the Mainland family.
Instagram at Mainland 98.3 FM, Facebook at Mainland 98.3 FM, YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM, X at Mainland FM.
Stay tuned, stay entertained, and stay informed.
All right, it's time for Political Roundtable Mainland 98.3 FM. My name is Saheed Fohad. This is the show where we look at the major issues in the political space. And today, we have three very important issues to look at. It's a full house. We have 괏괜ᴜ joining us on the studio today to look at these three issues. Nuruddin Adegbenro is here. Barrister Curtis Adigba would also be joining us. He's already in the building, but of course, he needed to quickly attend to some urgent, important issues. So he's going to be a part of the show this evening because he's already in the building. So it's going to be a robust conversation, very, very robust conversation, because we are looking at three major issues that has dominated the political space in the last 1 week. Very, very important issues. The first one would have to be the back and forth between Emir Sanusi Lamido Sanusi and the federal government and for the party APC. There's a development because the Emir has now also issued a statement after the statement he made that got the reaction of the federal government. He's saying that the federal government has simply sensationalized his comments about Tinubu's policies. More like saying, look, he's been quoted out of context. That's the Emir Sanusi saying that, look, you only just took a part of the whole conversation and made a big issue out of it. It was just purely the federal government, sensationalizing the statement he made at the Gani forum. So that's going to be our first conversation for this evening. We'll look at all the issues. We are going to look at all the issues. What are the burdens of a royal father? The royalty itself. And then when it comes to the conversations around nation building, what are the roles expected of a royal father in the stature of the Emir of Kano? He has a record, he has a history of who he is when it comes to political conversations. And again, we are seeing him also putting himself up, to quote unquote speak truth to power, and then of course there's a reaction from the federal government on that. So that will be the first consideration for this evening. We have some sound bites. We have a sound bite of the current, this is the sound bite of the current chairman of the APC, Ganduje, when he talked about the burden of leadership when it comes to our royal fathers. That particular soundbite was when Sanusi was removed, and he was asked by journalists why he decided to remove him. It's important for us to listen to what Ganduje had to say at that time and see whether truly there's anything to hold on to as far as the burden of leadership is concerned when it comes to our royal fathers. That will be the first conversation for the evening. And then Lagos politics. So much intrigues after the impeachment of the former speaker, Mudashiru Obasa. I've asked Nuruddin a whole lot about why he didn't get all the support from his Agege people. I was thinking that the whole of Agege was going to be still be protesting, because he says, look, he's Agege in and out. But it was quiet, really, for the people of Agege. And I asked him why we didn't get that so much reaction from the people in solidarity for their own person. But our own conversation this evening will be Obasa's impeachment indicates complexities around Lagos politics. How complex is the Lagos politics, and what does that impeachment show about the intricacies of politicking as far as Lagos is concerned? And of course, we're going to ask ourselves, will the dynamics change ahead of 2027? Is anything changing? What's the outlook for 2027? What are the insights? Luckily, we have Volale Koni, who should give us some further insight into how Obasa ran into trouble. How, a story of from grace to grass now, from grass to grace. Almost like a double situation for the former speaker, Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, who I think started his political career as a councillor. And then rose to become a speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, and almost the longest serving speaker. Almost going to be the longest serving speaker if he has stayed out this term. Yes. This year, yes, he would have been the longest serving speaker in Lagos State. But the rest is history, and we don't know whether he's back in the country. Agege people will tell us if they've seen him in Agege.
The eagle has not landed.
Abure's appeal court, despite the appeal court validation of his chairmanship as of that party, they are still in charge, and it amounts to nothing, and nobody can take away the role of the caretaker committee as far as the Labour Party is concerned. We're just going to be looking at the Labour Party and if there's any hope for reconciliation amongst the warring parties in the party. We have Olale Koni in the studio. It's my pleasure to bring you on the show this evening. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. It's also such a pleasure to have you to discuss Lagos politics with us. But 𝐶 guys in the studio. I've been reading a lot of. I was almost going to read your post on Facebook today about how people just pick up unnecessary enemies because of political differences. I read it and it got me. Maybe before the end of the show, I'll read it for people. Or if you really want to see why it is so unnecessary for you to pick enemies because you are in a different political camp. Yeah. I like that post really, because it just speaks to the fact that, look, politicians one way or the other always find a way to become friends again. Yes. Whereas you've picked enemies, so unfortunately they are still friends. They find a way to still meet and
in politics. More is better than less.
Yeah, they want more friends.
So they go after those who they consider to be their opponents
and bring them in.
Tell me why Danebwala and Reno Omokri Reno Omokri organized protests
to embarrass the president.
Why is the president going after him and not going after those
who are insulting everybody?
Yes, because he sees them as idiots who have no value.
How did Bwala make any appointment in this administration?
And they are the same people crying, shouting at I lost 4,000 plus followers.
Are you serious?
On Facebook.
On Facebook, just because I did not support the president at the primaries. Today I see some of them
coming back,
sending
requests. And the truth is, this thing is across the divide.
Yeah,
from everybody. All across the divides. And I keep telling, I say, we only have political class when you get to the top. There's no APC member, no PDP member, nothing. I've also been cautioned by.
And there are two political parties in Nigeria: the rich and the poor.
That's all.
Forget all the classification of PDP, APC, and
APC. They know how to always,
solve businesses together. They buy things from each other. They do transactions.
So in Lagos, sometimes you see top leaders of the opposition getting contracts with the government, and you wonder, It's
almost a common one. Very
popular one.
I was not listening.
Yes, sir.
I know there are some people in opposition in Lagos State. Their first son, their first daughter, the job they are doing, they are working under Lagos State government, and they got the job
through the affiliation and friendship with the ruling party. And then you will be out there fighting
unnecessarily.
So I always wonder how.
Do you know anyone that Tinubu has insulted?
Never.
He has never insulted anybody.
Who is the biggest beneficiary of his father's government?
It has to be him.
No matter how you even insult him,
he will not even. But you are there insulting.
Do you know anybody like Bemila has insulted? HMO and all of that. But those who call themselves Facebook warriors
insult everybody.
Some of them,
and people will not listen.
They
no matter how you
no,
say
it's because majority
they
of
don't understand
them,
this
they
thing.
Don't understand it. They don't.
All right. Well, we'll hope that people will understand that. Look, we can have divergent opinions. We can have constructive conversations without really descending to insulting people. And there's no ill feelings really about political differences. And it should not even get to that level. Like 괏ᴜᴛᴜ has said, it's just the political class. The party are just platforms for people to get to aspirate. And we've seen it. The way they move around, the way they jump parties. Yes.
How the parties operate in Nigeria. It's like Fuad. You are going to Saudi Arabia. You have a flight to catch. The road is jam-packed. You can't get to the airport on time. You have to make a decision.
Which one?
Is it Okada that will get you to the airport faster? Or Moluwe that will climb all the cabs? Or another vehicle that will take one way? The political parties are just vehicles. For gaining power in Nigeria, nothing more. They don't have
no ideological differences.
Go and look at the constitution of all the political parties in Nigeria. They're almost the same. But in fact, the late Bola Ige said he wrote the constitution of the five political parties.
Yes.
One person. Well, that's just to water our appetite on how the conversation will go this evening. Again, it's my pleasure to have in the studio by Mr. Tᴏɪᴛᴛ.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Nuruddin Adegbero, our gay man. He was. I won't say the things you told me.
The Obasa follower.
If you are not careful, bread will stop coming out of there.
Obasa give them bread during COVID.
Even the election, the last election.
I will make mess out of that particular bread because that bread, I didn't know that particular video can still be trending on Hot News. When I still check it again,
when the guys were playing football, we sit on the road.
It's still
see the bread we give us. This bread.
Well, you know that one thing about governance that people don't know.
Yes.
Any politician, no matter how big you think you are, if you are not for people, you are nothing.
Because at some point,
you are nothing.
You realize that the people should be the most important factor for you.
I'm telling you. So and that's why Agege is cool, calm, and collected.
People are not worried that they removed your son.
Worried about what?
Okay, we'll all right. We'll go. Guardian platform is an interactive. Sanusi has said that look, the current paragraph, like out of all the things I said, they only just picked something out of it and made a big issue. And he's saying that look, what he said does not necessarily mean he was critical of the government. We have the soundbite so that they don't accuse us too of analyzing him out of context. It's just very important for us to, again, a very long speech. So, but I think the critical part of the entire conversation is what we've picked out, where the emir was talking about the fact that, look, I'm not going to advise them again. Their reforms, they are the ones that should come and tell people. They don't even have credible people in the party anyways, or the government, for me to have a conversation with. They were friends before, but if they say they are no longer friends, he said a whole lot of things. But let's quickly listen to Emir Sanusi Lamido Sanusi. I would also ensure we listen just after what he said to Umaru Ganduje, the chairman of the APC. Not a recent statement, the statement he made when Sanusi was first dethroned as the Emir of Kano. And there he was talking about the burden of leadership when it comes to our traditional rulers. We listen to this soundbite back to back, and then we'll come back to go straight into the conversation for the evening. Still Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. We'll be right back.
To be honest, I can stand here today and I can give a few points that are contrary, a few points that explain perhaps what we're going through and how it was totally predictable, most of it, and maybe avoidable. But I'm not going to do that. I've chosen not to speak about the economy and the reforms, or to even explain anything because if I explain it would help this government, and I don't want to help the government. I don't want to help this government. You know, they're my friends. If they don't behave like friends, I don't behave like a friend. So I watch them being stewed, and they don't even have people with credibility who can come and explain what they're doing. But I'm not going to help. I started out helping, but I'm not going to help. I'm not going to discuss it. Let them come and explain to Nigerians why the policies that are being pursued are being pursued. And meanwhile, I'm watching a very nice movie with popcorn in my hands. I'm watching them stew. But I will say one thing. What we are going through today is at least in part, not totally, at least in part, a necessary consequence of decades of irresponsible economic management.
He's an economist, but he failed to understand. In economics, you have to inherit assets and liability. But in economy, he only inherited the assets of the traditional institution by giving orders, staying in a mansion, dressing gorgeously, being addressed. Do that. That was a problem. That was the biggest problem. That institution does not afford that you are seeing. You say something yesterday, you said something yesterday, and today you are contradicting yourself. You have the lips, you have the teeth in order to protect your tongue, and it is also left in a liquid so that it doesn't come brittle. All these are arrangements in order to have a break for the tongue. But Sanusi was able to break all the walls. Even the traditional rulers, they added another layer by covering it like this. Covering like this means don't talk anyhow. If you don't know, that is the meaning of this. Don't talk anyhow.
All right, the sound bites. The first was Emir Sanusi Lamido Sanusi basically saying that, look, he's not going to give any advice to this government. You know, what we are facing now is a result of years of reckless government policies, and that, look, the government is not really ready to listen. They don't act like friends again. They don't really have credible people in this government that they can actually sit with to have a conversation. And of course, the Minister of Information, reacting on behalf of the federal government, I told him that, look, we really don't need your advice. We didn't seek for advice in the first place. He said that, look, he's been quoted out of context. They've sensationalized his statement, and that, look, that was really not meant when he said that, look, he wasn't going to be giving advice to this government. And we also listened just after the Emir Sanusi statement to that of Umaru Ganduje, the chairman of the APC, talking about, look, you can't be a traditional ruler and be a social critic. And that, look, once you become a traditional ruler, you have two things you have to consider: the assets of the position and the liabilities. The assets, yes, you have a mansion, you have a palace, you enjoy the facade of being a traditional ruler. But the liability is that, look, your mouth must be shut. You can't talk anyhow again.
When you are eating, you don't talk.
When you are eating, you don't talk. Thank you for helping me to rephrase that. So, let's start this way. Barrister Curtis Adigun, I'm going to start with you. Emir Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, what do you think about the statement he made, and what the statement is making again about the fact that, look, they've only sensationalized a part of my statement. I didn't really mean what they think they say I've said. Number one, and then relate that to what Umaru Ganduje, the chairman of the APC, is saying about a social critic becoming a traditional ruler and then inheriting assets and liabilities when it comes to the throne.
Okay, thank you, and good evening to the listeners. You know, when you are not busy, you tend to look at every flying object, and you tend to respond to the things that you should have even ignored. And I listened to Emir Sanusi, but first of all, let's look at his background.
Background, yes.
Emir Sanusi is an economist. In fact, he rose to the apex position in our economic system, which is the governor of the central bank. And he has been on record speaking to the way and manner our economy is being managed. In fact, he predicted that if we don't take a different route, if we don't change things as quickly as possible, right from Jonathan to Buhari,
he's been talking, yes,
that we are going to face the kind of situation we are facing right now. He's been talking about it. So he's not a stranger and he's not a novice as far as this area is concerned. Now, number two, Emir Sanusi became the Emir of Kano through the intervention of President Bola Tinubu as the leader of the party. And I will explain that, because don't forget that at the time that the late Emir Adebayo died, the kingmakers actually selected names and gave to the governor. At that point, Kwakwanso was on his way out. Umar Ganduje, his deputy, had just been elected governor.
As a governor.
And so Kwakwanso still had to pick a name from among the names that were submitted. Don't forget that the majority of the kingmakers
at that time
supported Adebayo's son
to succeed.
But in order to spite the former president, Jonathan, who had interjected himself in the emirate politics.
I think that was after Sanusi was removed.
After Sanusi was removed.
As the CBN governor.
And Sanusi was removed because he said there were a certain amount of money, billions, that were being withheld from the nation's economy and that had been stolen. And the president, of course, came out to say, the then president said no money was missing, that if such money was missing, America will know, other countries.
And that basically was talking too much and all that, so he was removed. Yes.
So he was suspended. And he went to court to challenge his suspension. Now, that was the time that the APC tapped into the atmosphere, the crisis, to harvest that power block in Kano. And you recall that Jonathan, at that same critical time, trying to prevent him from becoming the Emir of Kano, had to take over the palace of the Emir of Kano.
Even sent a congratulatory message.
Yes. And then to the other man.
To Adebayo.
Yes. And so this was what Sanusi was referring to when he said, they are my friends.
So what you are saying is that, look, the APC too in the past had benefited from his social critic role.
Yeah, of course. Because that criticism of Jonathan not knowing that almost 22 billion was missing from the economy was one of the things that most Nigerians who voted against Jonathan held on to.
So at that time, took advantage of that.
Yes,
but he was not the Emir. He was not the Emir then.
He was not the Emir, but he was the CBN governor.
Yes,
okay.
So he's talking from the point of view
of that government, someone who had knowledge, authoritative knowledge about happenings in the government. That was how the name Clueless stuck to Jonathan.
Yeah.
Because of Sanusi's intervention. Lai Mohammed was always using that line.
That's
all the party spokesmen, even the president himself now.
Even me, I used it.
Everybody used it. So Sanusi was useful then. His criticism was useful. Omar Ganduje,
did he say anything wrong?
All of them needed him. Then they made him the Emir.
Yes.
Thereafter, Sanusi had to go to Abuja to meet with President Jonathan and pledge loyalty. It was at that point that soldiers were withdrawn from the palace and he had to move in. But we had always known that Sanusi is an activist. And then he came and started attacking the poverty, the system. In fact, he accused Ganduje of building mosque instead of building schools.
Yeah.
There was an occasion where he was invited to speak. He sent his daughter to represent him. Because according to him, he wanted to lay emphasis on child education in the north. Now, Sanusi criticized the level of poverty in the north, blamed northern leaders. He cited an instance where one Thursday morning, that as every Thursday people come to queue on the line in front of his house, and then he listens to them and tries to solve their problem. After some time, he heard a loud shout, and he decided that the guy should bring the woman. The woman came with a dead child, 2-year-old child. And what was the problem? She had no money to take this child to hospital. She had malaria. And he said that he talked about that. And then the nail in his coffin was his perceived support for the current governor against Ganduje's second term. And that was why he was removed. And that was why Ganduje made that statement. But you know, when Tinubu assumed the presidency, he was there. He went to visit with others. He sees the president as a friend.
As a friend, yes.
In fact, if you listen to that whole speech, and I did, what he said was actually joking.
At that point?
Yes, he was joking. When he said, look, these are my friends, and they are supposed to be acting like friends, but they are not acting like friends. Why? Because constantly, and as I speak to you up to now, Umar Ganduje is still using his power within the APC structure to ensure that Sanusi cannot be reinstalled properly. And that's what he's saying. And that statement is based on the fact that when he was removed, there was also a perceived role played by the late chief of staff to the president, Abba Kyari. Because as soon as he was removed, his replacement visited the villa where he was received by Abba Kyari. So he sees the APC as a party that benefited so much from him, but treating him like an enemy. And that's why he said, these are supposed to be my friends, but they are acting like my enemy.
Which he also benefited
yes.
Because it was installed by
the APC. Yeah, so he feels that this should be a relationship that is mutually refreshing. But now they are up against me.
But you know, Umaru Ganduje, in the soundbite we listened to, talked about the burden of leadership as a traditional ruler, where he was talking about the fact that, look, you inherit both the assets and liabilities. That, look, maybe Sanusi should not have taken the emirship role. He should have just remained a social critic, economic expert. What Umar Ganduje is saying, we listen to him, that, look, the asset is that, look, you have everything. You also ride on horses, big cars, palatial home, luxury. So who are you to criticize?
So, the reason why he's saying so is that the politicians have succeeded in politicizing and weakening the traditional institutions.
Which Sanusi benefited from.
Yes. Now, and the reason why I said so is because in those days, the kingmakers, once they make their choice, the governors have to go with it.
Yes. But now it's the governor deciding for the king.
In fact, you saw what happened in
Oyo State. Yeah, they are still battling that.
Somebody that is not shortlisted.
Whatever
the candidate of the governor.
But it also happened in Kaduna. The emir of Zazu today was not shortlisted by the kingmakers. But here is the point. The point is that with the increasing politicization and weakening of the traditional institutions, you now have emirs, obas, and different kings at the beck and call of the governors. Now, when they want them to politicize their stool
or make statements that benefit their own interest
and their party, it's okay
for them to talk.
Yes. But when it is not in their best interest, then you can then adopt Ganduje's stand.
Philosophy.
Yes.
Okay.
But Ganduje couldn't stand the inconvenient truth. Because you see, like I've said before, yes, politicians are responsible for problems, for most of our problems in Nigeria. Yeah. But the worst set of political leaders are found in the north. Because these guys weaponize poverty to hold down the people and ensure that they always get their votes. And that's what someone like Sanusi has been constantly speaking
like
to.
A lone voice in the wilderness.
Yes, he's been speaking to. So he said the inconvenient truth. What I would have done if I were the spokesperson
or the Minister of
Information, I would have said Sanusi also is our friend. And he has a role in building this country.
Together with us.
Whether we have fulfilled our part of the friendship or not, if he knows how we can get out of our current problems,
our doors are open.
Should feel free
and
speak to the government. In fact, after this meeting, I'm going to call him and ask him to give me the
share his ideas with us.
Just make a joke of what, because he was also joking.
Okay, well, he was also joking, but Olalekon, nice to have you on the show this evening.
Thank you.
Do you think that, look, as it is, our traditional rulers should just keep quiet? Because when they speak to the things that benefit the politician, they are their friends, they have a right to talk. But when they say things that affect the interests of the especially the ruling class, whether at the state level or the federal level, it becomes a problem. Do you think that at the end of the day, we should have a situation where our traditional rulers should know that, look, when it comes to political conversations, they should just keep their mouth quiet?
No, I don't think so. In 2023, I could remember that the current Ooni of Ife also said something that is actually not palatable with this government. And again, there was no backlash. So I feel that one of the issues we have with the current emir, yes,
but because he favored is the emir of Kano
on appeal.
He wins now.
Okay,
so you see, I feel that it's more of politics on the side of both the federal government and Sanusi himself.
Yes.
Probably if another person who is a traditional ruler also had made such statement,
yes,
the government wouldn't have responded in such a way. You know, like Barrister Curtis said, we know what is happening between Sanusi
and Ganduje.
And you know, Ganduje is also a representative of APC. So when you say Ganduje,
at the chairmanship level,
you know, so it's because of what is happening. And again, for me, traditional rulers are also stakeholders in nation building.
They have a right to talk.
You know, so telling them to keep quiet is not it. Traditional rulers can talk. They can even criticize. They've criticized before and nothing has happened. And again, we've seen in some other states, I think Osun State or so, there have been criticism and all of that. During Oyetola reign, the Ataojo of Osogbo and Oyetola were not friends at all.
Because
you know, if you remember, and the king is always coming out to say this thing and all of that. In fact, during election, he came out openly and said that no Osogbo indigenous, with Barrister Curtis, that some many things, and even comment Idris also the minister for information.
Because look, so the first thing that came to my mind was that Bayo Onanuga will respond to this.
Exactly, that's what. See, that's
if Bayo Onanuga even responded, for me it would have been light. No, for me the response will have been light. The reaction will have been
lighter than.
But why with the minister of information
conference?
I believe that this was something that was discussed at
the party level,
top level, and it was decided that to give weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Let the northern respond.
The Minister of Information, and I'm sure, knowing who he is, reluctantly agreed.
Exactly.
People have said
what government responded.
So you think it was an overkill?
For me,
it was an overkill.
Yes, it was.
But for me, you know Sanusi very well. Barrister Curtis gave us some history. You know, he's always been like that. You know, if you are appointed a CBN governor, and you were on the seat as CBN governor and criticizing the same government, so it means he's used to benefiting from a system, but also speaking truth to power.
It's even a family thing. His grandfather was
the throne.
For the same reason.
For the same reason. So, do you think that is going to stop speaking truth to power in the manner he's used to, you know, saying these things?
Well, you know, Yoruba has one beautiful adage. Abaku.
You have to interpret that because of my
You see, goats, hue, they have only one cloth, and that cloth is what they are going to till until they are buried.
They don't change their cloth.
Look, you know there are some certain people, especially when it's hereditary, it's going to be very, very difficult that you see, even if it's not a king, because I could recall even when he was with First Bank. At their normally top meeting, you will see him criticizing some certain decision made by the others in the board meeting to show you that it's not today, not because of his position.
It's just like that.
It's just like that, and he won't stop.
Should he have stayed away from becoming the emir if he knew he was going to continue? Because Ganduje's statement, where we might say it's politics, he's saying that look, as a traditional ruler, I don't know if there's any other traditional ruler that comes out to speak truth to power the way Sanusi does it, or comes so critical of the government the way he does it.
The unfortunate thing is that majority of them have died.
That could have done that.
Alaafin of Oyo, who has a governor sitting down like this, who have a senator sitting down like this.
But was he very critical of the government?
No,
it's talk about the power.
It's because he always says it in Yoruba, and there is no generalization. And Alaafin is different from a kind of king that you are going to say shut up. He will say, even during the colonial era, he will say it's mad. We know what happened between him and what is the name of this Fani Kayode's father. We remember what happened, and that is the thing. One thing there is this: our politicians, they have housed our traditional ruler. They have put them in the pocket, and that's why they are not used to that again. We remember. Don't forget that these traditional rulers, they've been in place even before politics even come to Nigeria. So at that particular time, immediately after independence, after the First Republic, even the military, they interact very well with traditional rulers compared to. But from 1979, our politicians have turned to demons that they don't want anybody to criticize them. But one thing that is so certain there is this: I don't know how our traditional rulers they are going to come out from the cage of the politicians, because now look at what is happening in Oyo. In fact, there are some certain reports that all the Obas that were appointed by Oyo state governor during his own reign, now this is always controversial. We know people have a lot of aspiration, but a situation in which both the kingmakers were not even allowed to do their job. We see a lot of examples even in other states. So now how they are going to come out of that particular locked, I don't know. But one thing that is so certain is that somebody like Iṛsᴛ Lamido is not going to keep quiet. But one thing again that you can't take away from him, if you are talking about humanitarian gesture, if you are talking about a king that gives sponsorship to brilliant students, even before he became king, now that he's become even before he was dethroned the other time, at least not less than 500 from the scratch, and they are children of poor people, even to abroad. So he's a kind of king that even in Kano, one way or the other, he still have majority in terms of sheer love. But the politicians, they want to continue to dominate. They want to dominate journalism. That's why you see that our guild of editors have been politicized. Any association, traditional religious, that is another arm of the of Nigerian politics. So every point in time, but these traditional rulers, I'm telling you, whether they like it or not, either they are out of that padlock, or they are going to be remain there and be silent forever.
Okay, well, yes.
Part of the problem here is that the Kano Emirate has always been volatile.
Yeah.
Especially in the last 4 decades, 4 to 5. Don't forget that Abubakar Karimi, the former governor, the late
did the same thing.
Also had to balkanize the Emirate.
Yes. Before
Ɓakinzuwo came back.
Is it related to resources?
No.
Same issue.
It's because of they have a large pool of princes to pick from. You understand? And the ruling homes are constantly at each other's neck trying to produce.
But they are almost children of the same father from the same
now they are really
blood.
Sanusi is married to one of his cousins.
Yes, now
they are from the Ado.
Yes, now the younger sister of this man
he's fighting with.
Yes,
you should collect the wife.
And his father, Ado Bayero Senior, was the one that trained, pay school fees of Sanusi Lamido.
Now, if you look at what is happening in Kano Emirate, that is not being replicated in other Emirate councils. When you go to, in fact, under Abacha, the Sokoto Caliphate had similar problem.
The same problem where the other Dasuki was dethroned.
Now, after the dethronement of Dasuki, and then the emir that came, Emir Machido, who died in that ADC crash, since then there has been some stability. Now, but that of Kano will continue for the foreseeable future because of political gladiators who are tapping into the volatility of that emirate.
But if Sanusi had been quiet, maybe we would not have seen.
Look at the emir of Zazu. It's also been quite stable. Now, the problem here is that, and I say this to people, if Ganduje used the State House of Assembly to make law that enabled him to dethrone Sanusi
at that time and balkanize it into 5,
Governor Abba can also revoke that law and go back to the old law
using the same House of Assembly.
That's exactly what is going on.
Yes.
Now, what happens, and this is where the problem is, and this is why the leaders of that emirate need to come back and restore stability. Because what happened if Ganduje is part of the political class comes back to power? Again, Sanusi can be removed.
Yes.
That's the problem.
And whatever law.
So is that going to be?
So when will it end? This back and forth.
Yes.
So that's why it's important. Now, having said that, I think it's important that we understand that there is a duty under law, and there are assets and liability under law. There's also power under law. The fact that you have become an emir does not mean your constitutional right to speak has been taken away.
No law says you should not talk.
No, but you can't be constrained by the heaviness of the duty.
That's the liability.
That Ganduje was talking about.
But again,
not in that manner.
If you have, because I think people like Ganduje want a symmetry kind of emir.
Just stay there.
Just stay there. You are seeing, but not.
You are not heard.
Even if you allow your female children, you allow them to marry at 11, the kind of emir that will not talk.
Yes. So Sanusi is not that kind of person. However, I think that he also needs to understand that he's not an ordinary man on the street like Curtis Adigba, who says anything. But on this particular occasion, like we said, he was joking.
So you believe that he was actually put out of context?
You know, when he started,
look at the atmosphere.
He was actually praising the government.
Yes.
He praised the president for taking the hard decisions, and that he had talked about this years ago and all that.
Yes, he said so.
You know, so they took him out of context, and the reason why they did that is politics. Like Olalekon said, Ganduje
pure politics
may have intervened in the process and say, what is going on in Kano? This guy is speaking directly to me and then accusing our party, the APC. We need a heavy response, and that was why they went for.
But Barrister Curtis, one thing that is there again is this: if the government of the day, not even the political parties now, think that all the harbors and monarchs will not talk on behalf of the people on what affects them, because one thing there is that they also have a role of duty to people that they within their domain to even be the voice of the voiceless.
What about the channel of communication? Maybe they should not come to the public.
I see many, like twice now.
So you want them to be writing letters?
No. They have access.
The president have invited this monarch, at least especially the first class, so the class of emirs
here, the first class and the top obas
of Lagos and all of that. And for all of this is for a dialogue, conversation, what is happening in your area and all of that. So I feel that the channel is also.
Do you know that Sultan of Sokoto, within the time that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is president, he has criticized this government even more than Sanusi Lamido.
You see, that's why we are saying that Sanusi's own is politics.
Even Buhari.
Yes.
So to know that if there is no right, they have the right because they are representing people too.
Yes.
So would they have been writing letters that come? There is hunger in the line though.
Sanusi, for example, would not say he wants to see the president and
so every month, every time that
I think people need to
they have to be visiting.
I think people need to understand that the politicization of the traditional stores in Nigeria favors the politicians and weakens the traditional institutions.
Yes.
Now, they are always referred to as the leaders and representatives of the people. That's how the government sees them. In fact, some have advocated for specific roles for them in the constitution.
Yes.
Now, if you say such people cannot speak on behalf of their people, then why are they representing the people? Now, the occasion.
What about the channel? Instead of coming to the public,
look, they can address the public. They just need to be measured.
Okay.
Now, in the case of Sanusi, he was invited to Ganifa a political event where, in fact, if you have been following every year, speakers after speaker will come out with earth-shattering comments.
I will charge the government.
He was even measured. The only time he slipped into politics in his speech was when he said, "They are not acting like my friends
again,
and they are supposed to be my friends, so I won't tell them, I won't help them." Do you understand? And he was joking. If you follow that speech, everybody, you knew he was just joking. Again, we said that when politics is in play, emotion takes reign, and then reasons receipts.
But at the same time, this government also, irrespective of maybe he was joking or not, the fact of his speech is also very important. That the policy of the government needs to be looked into. No matter how good your policies are, if those policies are not giving succor to the people, that people are complaining. After all, you are doing the policy to make sure the life of the people is going to be better. So a situation in which they are complaining, I think the government needs to also look into that so that at least you are doing it for people and people are complaining. You still need to look at it and see how you can make sure that the things can be better.
I'm sure the conversations around nation building, the policies of this government will not end. The reforms, whether the approach was good or not,
it's a daily conversation.
It's a conversation that will not end. So far, Nigerians are still looking for that light at the end of the tunnel. You know, it would always come. But it was just very important for us to look at Emir Sanusi Lamido's comments, the response of the government, And I think we are justified to have done that because it's just about politics, really. Maybe it was another ruler. He wouldn't have gotten that kind of.
Because like you said, like Olalekon said, Oni spoke to the same set of issues.
Yes.
And they're saying we are the people. We are the closest to the people.
Yes.
And we know what they are going through. This government has got to do something to give them succor.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, because he was coming from Oni, nobody responded.
But do you think, Olalekon, that the president can intervene now that Sanusi seems to have called him out silently to say, look, they're supposed to be my friends, referring, I'm sure, to the long-standing relationship of himself and the president? You think that statement in itself can prick the mind of the president to say, look, Ganduje, we can resolve this. We can work together with these guys. Because I've also seen politicians who have said, top other politicians today,
even
the papers that look
saying that
they should reconcile Ganduje and Kwankwanso.
Abdul Mominu.
Yeah, Mominu, yes. That these guys should.
Wednesday or so.
But is it possible?
And his friend for both of them. Listen,
yes.
Barrister, do you think
it is only in politics that Satan and God can become friends?
Yes.
It's a matter of interest.
So you think it's possible that Ganduje and Kwankwanso can come back and
work? That does not change.
They are not solving over money or women.
It's about interest.
It's about political interest.
Their interest could still be different, and they are still going to be friends.
No, but I'm talking about political interest. Can it align again?
Yes, it can. Why not?
If it's how come that both of them at one point they are both in APC?
Let me tell you.
How come?
How far they've gone apart? That's what I'm saying.
How come this Reno? How come Reno is now present in
Now, let me even tell you something.
Daniel Bwala.
Yes.
Now present in
do you know that tomorrow the candidate of APC Gamawa in Kano,
Yes.
there can be a political realignment whereby he becomes the deputy to Abba.
Yes, it's possible.
It's all a part of it, with the guarantee that he will succeed Abba. Like Ganduje succeeded Kwankwanso.
Yes.
So
And all and so for all of us who have been shouting yes, we will left in the cold.
You know, at times I look at the followers of the supporters of the politicians. I look at them, I just laugh because these politicians, anytime their interest is the same thing,
they find a way to align them and
in
just become friends.
You will see them, they will even exchange son and daughter, they will marry themselves.
I've seen tough battles at the ground.
Political battles.
Tough.
And then suddenly they are back together.
Look at WİKE giving press conference.
Yes.
Was it not the same man who said he has a headache and they're asking him to
join cancer?
APC with cancer.
At least he refers to APC before as cancer.
Sir, this one for us, for generally, it's even far. So I've seen hot battles
amongst politicians.
Jeez, I've seen hot one, not
small ones.
I was personally pursued, camp and caucuses and all of that. First, hot one, and at the end of the day, just like Mr. Anuruja have been saying, these leaders will settle this fight. You will not even know
when they settle.
Okay, look
months
at,
after.
Look
you will not know.
Look at this man. What's his name? The former Atiku spokesperson. This Baba.
Garuba.
No, not Shehu Garuba. The old man who supported
Galadima.
Yeah. Galadima. Why Buba Galadima was busy attacking Buhari? His daughter was working with President
Buhari in the villa. Was appointed.
Right now, as I speak to you, why Senator Judu,
yes,
said
he's one of the most.
He would rather go back to his farm than support Tinubu. But Senator Judu's daughter is working with Tinubu as senior special assistant.
Yes.
So what?
And she didn't change her name.
No, and she got there by her own action. Because she broke away. She broke from her father.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Have you forgotten in this same country when Obasanjo was busy writing letter to Buhari opposing his second term, telling him to dismount from the horse? Obasanjo's children went to the villa to visit Buhari and to pledge their loyalty.
Yes, now.
So we are just the people
and we are far away at the backwaters.
The way politicians look at all these analysis we are doing, they just look at when you see people on TV and all of that.
But we have to do our job.
Yes, very important. Very important.
Again, these things are to also tell people
that
look, stay on point.
Yes.
Stay on the issues.
Yes.
Forget most times, if you notice, I say that look, I hardly talk about parties in my analysis of political issues because I know that, like Barrister said, these are just vehicles.
They are just vehicles. So they can drop from this one.
The APC man today can
become. And suddenly you now become.
Look at WİKE for that matter. WİKE.
No, but WİKE will tell you that up till today, this morning, and this moment that is having a media chat.
That is blood and water. He's already with APC.
Is he an APC member?
No.
But it's blood and water.
You can't say.
Which kind you can't say?
True.
Which kind you can't say? Which kind you can't say? Look, somebody that even his own party in his own state,
let me tell you the game
that he wants to kill. No, now.
Wike is projecting into the future.
What future?
Not knowing whether he's acceptable in APC. Because you see, the way the role is playing is very delicate. Because tomorrow the APC, look, I've always said something. If you had to betray your family to another family to gain favor there,
the other family will look at you.
They will say that you can do the same thing to them. It's just a matter of time. So he knows that.
Does Tinubu says things that way?
No, he does. Let me tell you. Okay, now let me ask a question.
Don't you feel
since Daniel Bwala was appointed,
he's become
was appointed? Has there been? Are we saying there have been no policy on which you can communicate?
I know. I think they showed him that. Look,
what has happened is this: Tinubu is a classical Niccolo Machiavelli believer. Those who are dangerous around you, bring them closer
and weaken them.
And weaken them. Like I said, Daniel was not hired for local audience. They know he has lost credibility
locally.
But I've been speaking to local audience.
Well, but they are going to need
him. Take him seriously.
They are going to need him when we go to election of 2027. That's when he's going to be speaking to foreign audience, because they don't understand the situation in
the
our
local
country.
Nuances.
So they need someone like him who goes into a knife war with a gun.
With a gun.
With a shakabula.
So that's what they want.
A prolific striker.
And then more importantly, for the president to be seen as a father with a large heart. Can't forgive anybody.
So the perception
they brought him
also there.
because you saw what happened. Immediately he came on Channels TV that day and said, I speak for the president.
They told him where they told him where it truly belongs.
That politics is an inner. I knew that there will be a backlash after that interview.
But now he has been quiet.
No, he has been going around.
No, he has specific things that he can speak on.
No, there's no policy for him to communicate.
So the Daniel Bwala we know that got the appointment, and the next moment he announced himself now as the official spokesperson.
Well, he doesn't want the treatment of.
And then Ononuga told him that that's even not your role. And then we saw a reshuffle.
Yes.
In fact,
that night.
Even the position he claimed ended up with Sunday Dare.
Yes.
And then he was
politically, what happened to him on that night?
What happened was, we knew what happened to the guy that was
was pushed out.
You know, so Bayo Ononuga actually wanted
that role,
the spokesperson. But we know that, his acumen is in writing.
Yeah, not his speaking.
I don't know if you've seen his interview.
No. We know him now. Not today.
He's a writer.
He's a writer. He's not a speaker. We know. Yeah.
And so Daniel Bwala came in. Actually, I think that Daniel Bwala came in.
He saw that opportunity.
Not just even this essay on policy.
Yes.
He wanted to just talk for the president.
Exactly. And that's why he was hired. He was brought in. But Bayo.
But everybody now talks for the president. That's the problem.
That's where the problem is.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you to some extent. But I think that they felt threatened by his presence, because don't forget that
was threatened, right?
Yes, because don't forget that when Sunday Dare was announced, his position was in Ministry of Information.
Yes.
Because at that time they felt that the information guy was weak.
Yes.
And wasn't speaking forcefully. Forcefully speaking. But then they realized, like somebody told me, says the Lagos boys will never allow that.
Thank you. That's where I
the Lagos boys.
And something that Lagos boy.
Yes.
I don't know Lagos. Who knows Bwala? Where is it coming from?
Yeah.
So they would not. And I told people.
But how did it come in the first place?
Even Tunde Rahman was overlooked.
No, it's the president.
That's actually what.
If the Lagos boys could do the job,
yes,
and they had that much of influence to now, reduce him to what they've reduced him to now.
Yes.
So why did the presidency bring him in?
I tell you why.
We need him.
I know
and
why.
The president will listen later. You see, sorry sir. You can actually nobody. I told when this fair guy, Chief Ajuri,
yes.
I told him, I said, in that setting, nobody.
It's odd.
Ononuga will never allow anybody to be above him. I said it. So when Bwala came in and was saying, I'm the spokesperson of the president, I said this thing will have a backlash and all of that. And thank God that night they didn't even wait till the following day.
But
the president wasn't in town that
night. Of course, yes. When the whole thing happened,
they did it that night.
But you know what? The president wasn't in town. He was not physically present.
Yes.
But he was present in the organization and delivery and execution of
definitely.
that assignment.
Definitely.
And what they say to Mr. President is that you cannot trust this guy. You want to bring him close,
what he told the president.
yes, but you cannot trust him.
Yes.
Because this was the guy who was working for you, dumped you, went for Atiku. If Atiku had won, will he be back to you?
No.
So, and the president is a realist. Yes, he sees the need to keep down Ebola because of strategic objectives.
Yes.
But are those objectives overwhelming in his favor?
To ignore the fear of trust.
That he can then say, I will give him the power to speak on my behalf.
Without any other
when he has Yomi that they've lived together
as it is now, there's no official.
That is no that is
for him.
Everybody's just
now when you hear the presidency has said something, you need to check
who is behind it.
That's the level.
Tunde
Rahman, yes.
There's Tọ́pẹ́ Ajayi.
Tọ́pẹ́ Ajayi is there.
You know,
Ononuga is there. Daniel Bwala. So a long list. So these days, when we see statements, we look at the source of the statement.
But I feel that Sunday actually understood the politics.
No, and even his own maturity comes into even when he talks, when he disagree, he talks maturely compared to attacking dogs like. So that's the reason why those people, Lagos boys.
Okay, well, we'll see where it all ends. We have to really drag this Sanusi conversation again into the structure of the presidency, the communication skills of people handling, information dissemination for the president. It was surprising really to see Mr. Information come that hard. It's never been found it's not coming so hard when it comes to issues. But again, it is what it is. It's still Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. We have Olalekon in the studio. We have Barrister 𝐶𝐴𝑑IGBA in the studio. No, I didn't really mean what and the fact that he just picked a part of the old speaker, Mudashiru Obasa, Right Honorable Muda. Is it still correct? Right Honorable.
It's Right Honorable.
Removed or not?
No, that is it. They have permanent title now.
Okay. So
it's permanent title.
So Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa.
Yes.
His removal has sparked a lot of talk amongst the political class. There are people who have said that look, it's a 2027 game. There are people who said that look, he was the one that just dug his political grave. He bought the shovel, bought land, and started digging his political grave. The moment he started digging, we don't know. But maybe you help me get into that exact point where, because for someone who started as a councillor, I think he was never a chairman.
No. Yes, no.
So
from councillor down to sit as assembly.
And then to become speaker. That's big, really.
Very big.
If you look at how complex
good story.
Good story, from grass to grace, especially if you look at how complex Lagos politics is.
Yes.
And I think if he has stayed out this year, like we explained earlier, he would have been the longest serving speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. Now he's been removed. Right Honorable Mojisola Miranda from Apapa, right? One constituency is now the speaker. There's been a reshuffle of principal officers of the assembly.
Surely.
And that was going to come eventually. But our conversation here is this. Where did he start to dig his political grave? It's very important for us to look at that aspect of it. The second one is that, look, what are the APC members saying? The perception, luckily we have Olalekon, who probably give us some insight into what party members of the APC are saying at this time. And then what do you think his future would be? At this time, what are the options left for Mudashiru Obasa? There are people who have said that, look, if he comes back home, he could be arrested by the EFCC because there are allegations of corruption against him. We also got the news that he had made an attempt to see the president in the UAE, was denied access and all of that. So, strategically speaking, Barrister Curtis would also help. If you were going to be advising Mr. Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, what would you be telling him about his political future? Maybe his friends, if he's not listening to us, will tell him that, look, this is what they say should be your next move. And then the GAC, the Governor's Advisory Council, Olalekon,
which is also a member.
Yes, he's also a member. They have 27 members.
Yes.
And the slot is away now because that slot is basically.
So how powerful are these GACs? And then there's also this story about the Mandates Group and the Justice Forum. In 2020, the news was that group had been disbanded. There was no group in the APC. Yes. It's just one party, one house. Somehow, just about 2 or 3 years ago, the story came up again that, look, the groups are back. And in the statement of Mudashiru Obasa, that people have said that, look, landed him into trouble. He also mentioned the Mandate Group.
Yes,
which means that the groups are back. At what point the groups can come back? Are they still existing? Or do they still stand disbanded? Was there any ban in the first place? And what are the implications of these groups in the APC and all? Those are the things we're going to be looking at today on this issue of Mudashiru Obasa. It's probably going to be a long conversation. If we can't take the third issue, we'll just stay with it. Because again, it's going to take us to 2027 governorship election in Lagos State, the intrigues within the APC. There are names already that party members are giving to us. We'll look at Hamzat, the prospect of the current deputy governor Hamzat. Akim Muri-Okunla, who is the principal secretary to the president, is also in the list and the conversation. Femi Gbajabiamila, the chief of staff, he's been a bit quiet in recent time. He's also in the conversation. Tayo Ayinde, the chief of staff to Sanwo-Olu, the governor, is also in the conversation. Ambode, a lot of people have talked about the possibility of Ambode returning to Alausa. The government house is also there. Senator Abiru from Tokunbo Abiru, from Ikorodu, is also being mentioned as a possible successor to Sanwo-Olu, and then the son of the president, J.T. We shouldn't forget.
You forgot the dark horse.
Who is that?
The Minister of Education, Alausa.
Oh well, they're also that
one is peeping in.
Because again, how he came, become a minister of state, and then minister of state,
he has a strong
and now
to the president.
For him to have even made the list in the first place as minister from nowhere, So those are the conversations we're going to have. I'm going to start with you, Oladekon. Where did Obasa make his mistake?
Earlier on you said that for me, these are my personal opinion anyway. I saw that a lot of people have said that he started digging his political grave.
Yes.
When the governor came to present the 2025
appropriation bill.
In fact, if you go online, that day, a lot of people went online and said that this man will soon be impeached.
After making that statement.
A lot of people said it that day. People were tweeting, this man will soon be impeached.
On
that
same day.
Yes, on that same day. December 17th. December 17th.
December 17th, okay.
Yes, a lot of people went online to say that. I also said, I said that this is like the beginning of the end for Obasa. I never saw that the impeachment
was going to come that fast.
Early. I never saw. So there were also intrigues when the president came, meetings upon meetings. So there was a meeting where he was, he was supposed to be physically present at that meeting.
That's Obasa.
Yes, but the president, declined that it shouldn't be physically, but should send somebody as the Speaker of Lagos State. And then BCUSO, former assembly member from
represented
me at that meeting. I don't know if you saw that picture. The governor was there. The Conference 57 chairman was represented by the executives, and the deputy governor was also there. And then governor also tweeted that they met with the president to discuss party issues and the way forward for Lagos State and all of that. So while the president was in Lagos, there were different meetings. Obasa had to
marathon meetings.
Obasa had to come. The only time he came to meet the president was when Wale Edun, the National Assembly members, Gbajabiamila came to see the president. Just follow them and all of that. So we knew that, and different meetings have been, and news have been going on even before Christmas. There was a time that we heard that he went to Abuja to see the president, and the president said, Muda then die Koru, the way the president spoke, and he was shocked and all of that. So there have been so much issues around him, and then the group thing, mandate and justice forum and all of that. And then one of these undoings, I told people also, when they went to check the local government, the LCDA laws, the assembly laws, I told people when they began.
What was that issue really? There have been conversation around the LCDA laws.
The LCDA was created in 2003. The 37 LCDAs was carved out of the 20 LGAs. And then the assembly said that they want to check these laws, that what will now happen is that by the time they pass their own law, is that we only have elections into 20 LGAs.
Not in the 37.
And 37. And when they will do some administrative abracadabra to just appoint, and that's like giving the assembly more powers. What they are saying is that
so they will just appoint 37,
yes,
and just do 20.
Maybe names will be forwarded from the 37 LCDAs,
they will confirm,
and then assembly has to confirm, and we know what that means.
And the LASEC things too.
Yes, so all of this, LASEC was they refused to confirm LASEC.
Yes,
and until the president,
yes, and we are supposed to have even received notice before, like now in January.
Of the election.
They refused
to confirm the LASEC nominations.
Nominations and all of that. So it was the local government, when the local government started, and one of the things people, politicians and people went to tell the president is that your legacy is about to be erased. And so all of these things combined together and all of that, we knew that, you see, you can't.
It was just a matter of time.
It's just a matter of time. We know that you can't do all of these things. The GSUs felt very bad that these are, so to speak, these are our own pot of soup, the 37 in those LCDs.
And you are saying no, there's going to be elections.
Erase it that way. And so people
so he had his own ulterior motive for the 37 local government.
Everybody knew. So people saw all of this, and if you combine all of these things together, what it meant for him was that he was just increasing his own enemies, even from his own areas and all of that. And then within the house, there was some cracks. You know, the power was too much
for him.
For him. So the power was just too much. Some of these things cannot be said on
radio. Yeah, you told me some of them.
These things were so much. So even the house he was controlling, he lost that control unknowingly to him. So when it was time and there were opportunities from different enemies, there was so much complaining.
They just
there was nothing for him to fall back on.
Yeah.
It's historical for you to have 32 out of 39 members.
No, even those ones that it's because they were absent too. If they are
even those ones are already denying that they supported.
What did
they didn't just say as they supported. So if you had 32 out of 39
voting to,
it means that you have lost the house a long time ago. And you see, if you look at that video again, that video said a lot after the impeachment and all of that. His arch enemy, the man didn't hide it. In 2023,
I showed him Shege.
Tobun, he showed him Shege. So that was his rival who wanted us all to become speaker.
Yeah,
and
what they said, probably the governor put forward. To take his job.
And then he showed. So that one did not even hide anything.
It was a victory for him. Yes, they now made him to speak on behalf of everybody.
It was a victory for him. So all these things, culminated together and then resulted in the impeachment. It was a matter of time. This impeachment will definitely come.
Barrister Atiku, how do people move from grass to grace? Like we've seen of Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, and then get to the point where you expect wisdom to prevail, and then they just lose it.
The man has not moved from grass to grace. He has moved from grace to grace.
Grace.
Yes, he's still a member of the house. I think
you never see him.
Let me tell you something. See, people don't understand the power is ephemeral. Obasa's head has always been on the chopping board.
When the life will come.
No, whether you like it or not. Having spent 10 years on that seat, his head had always been on the chopping board. But his own conduct
will determine whether the knife will come.
And flaws in his character made it easier for those who wanted to take him out and take him out so easily. He became too pompous. He became a poor student of politics. Not knowing how to be powerful and honorable. He became like a terror to his colleagues. First of all, he didn't understand anymore that he was just an ordinary member who was elevated by his colleagues for purpose of. Then after conquering, waiting for 4 hours. Now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, this was there.
Don't get me wrong. There are 3 co-equal
powers.
What do they call? Powers in government.
In government.
Arms of government.
Yes, arms.
So the house is not
inferior to the others, and they are not superior.
But in practice, the executive wields more power.
Yes.
And the governor of the state is the leader of the state.
Yes.
The speaker kept the governor waiting for 4 hours.
And the leaders of the party too.
And the leaders of the party. Now, he became like a loose cannon. No one could control him. And then he began to see the governorship's position as his birthright.
Yes.
Now, wisdom is not only in knowing how to say things, but it's also in choosing the venue to say those things.
And when to even say it.
And when to say it.
Yes.
So when, how, and where.
This was a budget presentation. All the man could have said is, we have received this budget on behalf of the people of Lagos.
We'll do our job.
We have our duty to do, and we will do it to ensure that the right policies are churned out for the state.
The statement was not from his head, from top of his head.
He wrote it
and read it.
Now, that's one. The
other thing, planned one.
The other thing is that for those who said, "Oh, it was that speech," he ensured that some prominent members that the governor himself nominated were
removed from the screen.
Were removed.
Yes.
And when he was confronted, what did he say? Who is the governor? When he was was PA, I was already
house member,
a committee chairman of the house. So he's been condescending of the office of the governor. He's been arrogant. And then the statement he made that people are referring to was so heavy.
Now we're going to play it.
Because look at what he said. What people did not pick from that statement, which I picked, is that when he said, no one who has been governor is better than me.
That was his own doing, sir. People picked it.
He was not only talking in terms of their qualification.
Yes.
Because shortly before that, he had talked about people saying whether it's from Badagry or something.
Or something. And doesn't need local validation.
And he doesn't need that local validation. He's speaking to those who have been governor before him.
That they are not from Lagos.
They're not from Lagos. The whole idea that we're even thinking that I'm not qualified because I'm not from Lagos.
Oh, well, that's true.
Even if I'm not from Lagos.
No, we are all not from Lagos.
After all, we all come to one state.
That was the statement. See,
that is inclusive.
Let me tell you,
the president.
That was the statement that they took to Mr. President, and he became too powerful. And when you now equal yourself and say, look, nobody who has been governor in the state is better than me in terms of qualification, in terms of where they come from, even though people say I'm from Badagry, but I don't need local validation. In other words, even if you are not from Lagos,
I was in contest of Agege.
So he is a poor student of history. He doesn't understand that. My people say that, you know, Benesit, that little thing, that an elder can always give to a child.
Yes.
Is the child's inability to close his fingers that will make the thing to pour away.
Or retain it.
So, the president and all the other party leaders have supported him for too long.
Yes.
And what he didn't realize, and I've always said this, impeachment is a political tool. They don't need to give to convince anybody.
Yes.
For the speaker, president of the Senate, all you need is a two-third.
And that's it.
Where his selection is by simple majority, there's a two-third to remove him. And because his members of the House were already against him, but they didn't know what to do.
So they made it very easy for him.
Once he played into their hands, they were able to pull out their knife and cut off the head.
So the head was already on the chopping block.
Yes, all the while. And you know, it makes the job now easier for them because one less person to contend with who wants to be governor. At the end of the day,
-1 now.
He will realize now that
how weak he is.
Now that he's out of power, and of course money flowing to that seat will reduce. He will see that all the supporters one after the other will begin to drift to other candidates.
Yes.
Okay. Well, before I allow Nuruddin, because he will bring us the Agege part of this conversation now, because what's happening in Agege, political leadership in that area, I'm being told that people who had been waiting to also take their turn already jubilating.
If you know the number of people that have went away, that they are coming
back now. So we'll look at the because he said that if he was even going to contest, it will be from Agege, whether you like it or not.
Why he's contesting again?
Can't even claim Agege. Why did you claim Agege as a son of Agege?
No, because in fact,
why was he going to a job to look for?
What happened there is that, you know, the funniest thing there is that he did not even have one school. He didn't school in Agege at all.
Okay.
So another thing again,
you say he doesn't even live in Agege.
He doesn't live in Agege. I stand to be corrected. In the last 10 years, he has not lived in Agege.
He has no house where he resides in Agege.
No, he has an office. He has various houses. He doesn't live in Agege. And I challenge anybody to come and say, I'm like,
we'll listen to,
and I know where he lives.
Okay. All right. We'll listen quickly to what the former speaker, right, Honorable Mrshobarasa, said that a lot of people are saying was just the last straw that broke the camel's back. Still Political Roundtable, Mainland 98.3 FM. Let's quickly listen to that particular statement, for sake of proper conversation. We'll be right back.
As we have to embark on the mission, to the blackmailers who have to embark on the mission to distort and redefine our mission, let me state it unequivocally here. Our intention is to promote our party on the platform of mandate. Also, becoming governor is secondary. It is something that I have not given a serious consideration. Nevertheless, that does not mean I am too young or lack experience to run, whereas those who have been before me are not better off. In addition, it is also important to correct the impression from naysayers who have been insinuating that I made payment to seek for blood relation in Ojo to validate my candidacy to run as governor. Of course, I've never denied the fact that I'm Obasa, but rather I've never claimed to be related to Odikoyi, Oniru, or any popular Lagos family, as the case may be. I can indeed never run from the fact that I'm related to my Obasa family in Ojo, but I do not need local validity to contest or run. If I am contesting, I will do so from Agege. Nonetheless, we want to thank Mr. Governor for the good job he's doing constitutionally. By presenting the budget, you can rest assured that this House will also respect this constitutional right to address the budget and get back to you. Distinguished guests, as we hope that 2025 budget will be of great benefit to the people of Lagos State, we, however, appeal to Mr. Governor and Lagosians to give us sufficient time to enable the House to do thorough job on financial document that has great influence on the lives of the people. The Assembly will not delay the passage of the budget, but we will be interested in placing high premium on the need to ensure the interests of Lagosians are protected socio-economically and politically. We are your representatives here at the House of Assembly, and we are duty bound to do justice to every sector of the state's economy. At the same time, I want to thank my colleagues for standing on the side of the people. All
right. Well, we just have to take a bit of that speech from Right Honorable who is now the former speaker. We have a new speaker, brand new speaker, history-making speaker, the first female speaker elected here in Lagos, Right Honorable Mojisola Miranda. And she's been doing her job. I could see that she was probably prepared for the job, as if she'd be prepped to take over, because she just started doing the job as expected.
Maybe she was rewarded indirectly, because for Obasa to even be speaker for this tenure, she plays a major role. I know only will know that she played a major role, because at that particular time they blocked Obasa from speaking to the presidency. She was the connector between her to Remi Tinubu.
I wanted us to have this perspective, local perspective, what the people of his constituency are saying, because there are people who think that, look, if you are talking about a political leader from Agege, it has to be Mudashiru Obasa.
Yes.
We've seen one or two who have also come out to say, whether it's removed or not, he's still our leader. I think there's a little issue with NURTW there.
There's been the stakeholders meeting from the two Agege.
In fact, they said there are
two different meetings
going on. People are saying that, look, he might have lost his seat as speaker.
Yes.
When it comes to political leadership of Agege, he's still their leader. Do you think the APC members of Agege really believe he's still their leader?
No. This is what happened in Agege and really Agege. Let me pack it to Agege Federal Constituency.
Yes.
There are 4 factions there. There is a faction of Okwefa, the former commissioner for transport. There is a faction of Yinka Ogundimu.
Agege too.
Then there is Obasa movement. Obasa movement is his own. Is his own movement. Then the last one were those people that are like free thinkers within the APC.
They are just roving.
They
can align anywhere.
So, and that is the thing. Now, one of the things in the politics there is that majority of those people that are in positions, they are only those people from Obasa movement. So other ones, they just fold their hands and be looking. In fact, it was alleged to approach a particular councillor, especially the councillor that represents Mulero down to Papa Shafa, to YPP.
Okwefa's
word. And for that person, after winning, he came back.
Yes.
So there are a lot of divisions here, and don't forget that Okwefa have a tap from the state and also from the federal. Mika Ogudimu also have a tap from the state. He moved Jubril Abdul Karim, the former chairman of Agege, from Agege constituency 1 to Agege constituency 2.
To fight Ogundimu.
At that particular time, there is a division.
Also pushing
so at that particular time. Then another one again is that Shola or Sholano.
He's in PDP.
He's in PDP. He was
APC.
Also from APC. Now every other person now, including him, they are coming out because now.
So they left because of Obasa.
Yeah, they left because of
this
him.
Ogunji guy.
That one because of Professor Samuel.
A JC
member. Could you believe?
Professor Samuel is dead.
During the primary that brought Alhaji Gani Egunjobi, the name on that list that was cleared to become chairman was even Abiodun Ogunji, and he still uses power. So all those ones, there are a lot of enemies within. Then another thing again is this.
So locally, he had a lot of problems.
No, locally, there is a lot of division.
Adara Ninjas.
Adara have aligned because he was giving superb chairman. So Adara Ninja is also floating. Adejare, that is another. That one link with Ogudimu. So now,
so locally the house was not
divided. So then another thing again is that so all that APC members were treated like outsiders. So they are now washing. So when this happened, they kill him.
So you think that look, the party at Agege will benefit? APC will come back now that there's no more.
There are a lot of one. In fact, currently now, and funny thing there is it. Do you know how it's also those people even coming from outside? They can't go through any ward chairman and chairman of the LG. They are going to the state, and state is allowed to come any, especially viable members that are boxed up. They are ready to allow them. So that is another thing. In fact, I won't be surprised if the state chairman dissolve the party executives in both Agege and Orire Agege, because the reason is that to reorganize, because there are a lot of those people that are outside that they can even give the party headache. So now that they want to come back, and one thing in politics is this: they will not ask you to go now. You can also come.
So at this time they can bring in more people now.
Then another one there is that if there is a united house, you will have seen more people. On that particular day he was impeached, you will have seen a lot of people. Because a lot of perception in Agege. In fact, some people have the one perception that he has said that he has a mace, that he always throw like cones to the people during time of election, and they are going to pick it up. Whatever he wants is what he's going to get. So there are a lot of perception around that, and that's why you see that a lot of people in Agege, even within the political space, they are not ready to put their neck inside it. But with what is happening now, what it means is this: the governor will be very much interested in anybody that's going to be the chairman in Agege and Orire Agege. Don't forget, Sanwo-Olu is the one that will conduct the election. Then another thing again is this: anybody linked to him, you think the governor will be very comfortable that anybody linked to him, because now that particular structure there is now being made open.
Because we need to open the phone lines. Olalekan, do you think it's all over for him politically?
Well, the politics of APC, if we can begin to say that Hambode is coming back, means that for me, the very little I know about the politics of APC, time also heals. Time is a healer.
So it could still come back.
Yeah, I believe it might not actually be powerful, whatever powerful, but I don't believe.
And you think you can accept the reality of being up there, almost one leg into becoming governor in his mind, and then suddenly becoming a floor member?
Became a governor.
But Mr. Curtis, as a political consultant, I believe
it could be
advice. Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, the former speaker. What do you think he should be doing now to save his political career?
You should just silence is the most powerful political tool. Yes. Especially when you are in the rabbit hole, like he is now. What he does from here determines whether he will rise again or stay permanently down. Now, if he decides that he must be governor and he goes into a contest against the elders,
can he still nurse that ambition?
No.
I thought that ambition is dead and
he
buried.
will. You know, politicians.
He can still nurse it.
Of course.
Yes. Maybe through another party.
He's got a huge war chest.
Yes.
He will run.
Serious
one. If he goes against the directive of the party leaders, and then he runs, and he loses,
I can beat my chest 80%. He won't.
Well, I cannot beat my chest.
I want to believe he will run.
That he will still run. Let me tell you, this level. Let me tell you how far he has gone down the rabbit hole.
You see, I believe that you are the one seeing him that has gone far.
In his mind, you think
yes. What's the big deal? He's a politician.
Let me tell you,
this is just a setback for him. That's what you hear.
Momentary setback.
Oh, that's what he'll be thinking.
Yes. I was called to advise a governor who was in trouble with his political leaders, and I said to them, he's got 3 routes going forward. 1, agree with the party leaders that I'm not running again. All right? but negotiate his exit by saying, if we form the government at the center, I want a ministerial position.
Yes.
And then go ahead and fund the party. Number 2, run, lose the leverage to negotiate, but still remain a honest party member. And number 3, run, lose the leverage, dump the party, and then you'll be impeached. And they said he was going to go for number 2. He went for number 2, he lost the leverage.
Well, you mean
and to even negotiate again.
Well, that's also doubtful, because there were accusations of him trying to go to the next party. So for Obasa, right now, if I were sitting across from him and advising him, is that the most powerful tool you have right now is silence. Walk on the ground, rebuild the confidence that you've lost with your party leaders. Tell them, I will do whatever you guys want me to do. You are my strength. If you don't want me to run for governor, I'm not going to run for governor. I will support whoever you support.
Yes.
And after some time, if they see that he's truly a changed man, because power is like you can't hide power just like you can't hide money. Everybody loves it, and it can be very destructive too. If they find that he's a changed man, he's the Obasa that they used to know. Because don't forget that the problem is having with Agege. He stopped being a representative of Agege.
Yes.
He became a speaker.
Yes.
So he forgot his base.
Yes.
And that's why nobody is fighting for him. So he needs to reclaim his constituency. He needs to go back and reclaim the confidence that people have.
That is if there's something to go and reclaim. Don't you think somebody will want to take it away from him?
No. Nobody there has that.
He has the
resources.
He has the contact and the leverage already. He tore them into shred by the way he has behaved.
So he can mend.
It's like when you beat a child with one hand, you use the other hand to draw the child back. Now, the lesson that Obasa has learned is that the teeth that the dog uses to play with the child, also is the one he uses to bite.
Yes.
But if he can get himself back to the good graces and the good books of these people, they will find a way to bring him back, even if it's not speaker.
Yes.
But he's got to have a prominent role in the party structure, because he can't be speaker anymore. He's just going to be a house member.
Yes.
When he needs to speak, he will raise his hand to be recognized by the speaker.
And that's why I'm asking the question, that can he accept that reality? Do you think
he has no choice?
That one has done on him
Don't
already.
forget that
he's human.
Senator Mark,
yes,
after he became a floor member of the Senate, he never spoke. In fact, jokingly, I said that time.
David Mark, true. He became a floor member.
He wasn't impeached, but
he wasn't impeached.
He was became senator, but he was there just hibernating and doing
that
his
time
thing.
we
still did 4 years.
We gave him. We created a position for him. We said he was the Senate committee chairman on the committee on observation.
He was just there.
He was just there.
So Obasa can just be on the floor of the house.
Yes,
and observing things.
He will just be there, respect the current leadership of the house, respect the governor, work his way again back
into their
minds, and say, look, this is the Obasa that I used to know. Having lost power, I've come back to reality.
And people will actually embrace him.
And they will embrace him.
All right, that's a word of advice from Political Roundtable, our experts here, to the outside speaker. Look, silence is golden in this regard. You could still be a floor member, observe things,
and his people also
need that kind of
needs to learn, because the way they are having meeting and attacking the state executives,
they are still having meetings.
I'm telling you, the way they are throwing stones. Then another thing again is this. I think I need to put this one. Those people in Ogbataya, in Kamoru Alimi, they need to wash it, or else thank God that Area G has intervened. What happened in that market? They used to sell tire. There is a particular person. That one is a political person. So he came into the market. We're saying, there is nobody that God cannot remove. Before they know it, they bounce on that particular man. He went to the police station. They packed them. The chairman of that tire station stood for them. Do you know that yesterday they still went again to go and attack this man, and that man has officially reported to Etomi. And when they saw me today in front of that particular tire, they say, Mr. Adekwenro, I did not even say a word, because I know tomorrow on Monday.
So what you're saying is that
they need to keep
they are not
quiet
helping,
because they are not helping him.
Mm.
They are creating more problem for him politically, because they will think he's the one sending them.
Those people.
It's Obasa who should call them to order. Publicly call them to order.
Yes.
All right, so it's time to open the phone lines. Political Roundtable, mainland 98.3 FM, 091-36000410, 091-36000410. We take the first call for the evening. Good evening.
Greeting all of you in the studio.
We greet you too, Prince Wise.
All blessing for all of you.
Yes, 1 minute, Prince Wise. That's now the rule for every call on any show here on mainland 98.3 FM. Yes, 1 minute.
I know call our attention to it.
No, you are getting to here now. Yes, thank you.
Number one, Emir of Kano is very, very arrogant. Something he does before, you are suspended, you become a retard. Right, you never PRO to any government in power. And they say it's jokingly. What jokingly? They say that I don't have advice for this. As far as the advice to Jonathan, why did they put Jonathan today? And somebody talk as a cabinet here at the room, you're not supposed to talk anyhow. You must respect yourself. Give good advice to any government in power. So for me, that man, I think this is reform because the matter is Supreme Court. If you go otherwise, where will it be? So for me, it's not saying jokingly. It's so arrogant. That's what I'll be saying. Good evening.
All right, good evening, Prince Wise. That is so arrogant. The people of Kano will not like that. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
I need a lot of it from school.
Yes, Mr. Laotafik, please go on.
Thank you very much, brother. When I say progress to picture, you put understand me. It's not any arrogant. It's like when he was attacking the Nigeria, it's not arrogant. That's number one. But number two, concerning speaker. The feature, those who come in, those who go in, my dear brother, the person is because of one the person like me. Or that's the person. It is all about. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Laotafik. It's not arrogant. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, this is Mr. Kenny from Mushin.
Yes, how is Mushin this evening, Mr. Kenny?
Fine.
All right, please go on, sir.
Good evening to Mr. Fuad, Pastor Cotton, also another member of the panel.
Thank you.
First and foremost, Emir Sanusi should learn from the past. You cannot take two things. Either you cannot have cake at the same time and you have it. You eat it and have it. The traditional ruler, that institution must be respected. You don't criticize anyhow. And the verified position, whatever he says, goes a long way as far as Kano politics is concerned. Locally and at the federal level, he must guide his tongue. Very, very essential to the traditional ruler. On the issue of Obasa, he has gone too far. I want to to me, I don't think he can come back. His political journey has been ended. In fact, he ended it himself. You're number 3, you cannot be competing with number 1. He has gone far during the budget presentation.
All right.
He has gone forever.
Okay.
That's for him. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Kenny. Thank you so much for that contribution. Hello, good evening. Hello? Hello? Hello, good evening. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. You are sounding very, very far. Can you put your mouth to the phone? It's still sounding very far, really. Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Yeah, good evening.
Hello?
Yes, good evening. I can hear you. Hello, I can hear you.
Wow.
Oh.
Hello, Mr. Fuad.
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening.
Wow.
Okay, I think let's see whether this will go through. Hello, good evening.
Yes, and good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Yes, good evening.
Yes, Ajimele calling from Ireland.
Okay, Ajimele.
Yes, I want to face you as a lawyer. When accusation is being made on someone, if I may ask you as a lawyer, I think there's supposed to be a ground. As in, there's supposed to be a ground as the reason why such person is being impeached, or as the reason why someone is being accused. I take my time. I listen to each of you analysis. I did not have any of you analyze the mere core of the reason why it was impeached. Rather, we are busy more or less like stylishly as in supporting bad precedent, which is particular man, which we all know that is trying to set. And at the end of the day, if this thing for stop, it is you guys that will still come on air, still analyzing such bad precedent. This one is copying what this person does. This one is copying what this person does. If I may ask, please, be a baby, I listen to the particular something you play, which you claim is says wrong.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to tell you now, Mr. Fuad.
Yes, I'm with you.
Tell me now, the previous doctor, I think they said, he just like me asking you if Sage is better than Sandra or if the other man is better than you.
Okay.
I'm not sure repeat it. I think better than him. What did he say that so? Is he a baby?
Okay, so you have to take your time. Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, I think we have to give the panel the opportunity to respond to this call.
The mood assure something is besides.
He said, look, what he's saying is that, look, he listened to us carefully and there was no part of the conversation where the House said what the problem is, why they were impeaching
No,
him.
I think he didn't listen. Okay. I said impeachment is a political tool. For someone who is speaker, you don't even have to give a reason.
Yes.
To be impeached.
So far, your leadership is not trusted.
Far enough, they even gave a reason.
There are no processes in the
and
constitution.
they gave reasons, yeah.
That when you want to impeach a speaker, like in the case of a governor, where you have to set up a panel, the CJM,
the
panel has to sit down and bring a report, brief the House. No,
but for the speaker, no.
For the speaker, you don't even have to give any reason.
Yes.
In the parliamentary system, once you say loss of confidence,
vote
of confidence, you don't have to give any reason. We know of the allegations of corruption against him,
47.3 billion.
But because he has not been convicted, he remains speculative.
Yes.
So we don't go speculating with people. But what I want him to know, and he can go and check this, to remove a speaker, the president of the Senate, the deputy speaker, you don't need to give any reason.
So far, the 2/3 of the House
will lose their interest.
Have you seen Muniz
yes.
Report, yeah.
Once the people have lost interest or confidence in you, they can remove you.
And he also said, the caller also talked about the fact that, look, we are trying to support a bad precedent. So is somebody trying to act this out? Before you respond to that, Tony, I must say that, look, all we said today about Obasa was about the APC politics.
Yes.
It's not anything about Lagos governor. It's just about how politics is played and the internal intrigues of the party politics within the APC. And so I don't know anything about precedents.
I think it doesn't. If it is to recall Obasa as a member of the House, there are constitutional processes that must be followed. But to remove him as speaker, they don't need to set up any committee. They don't need to give any reason.
So far, the majority of the
members is a political tool.
And the caller must also know that all the House members are the same. They now pick somebody to be their leader. That's all.
And so
first among equal.
He was removed as a speaker. He was not removed as a House member.
And the intention is talking about the precedents. What do you think about that? Look, it's just about somebody trying to do something, and we are still the one that would.
He's not the first speaker that was removed.
Yes.
He won't be the last.
I think people don't understand that we don't come to the studio here with solutions looking for problems. We come here to solve problems by finding solutions. So if it happens in the future, and
we need to discuss it, we'll talk about it.
But the person even know that Obasa even not the first speaker to be impeached in Lagos.
Look, and apart from that, this same Obasa was involved in the impeachment of Pelumi.
Yes. In fact, he was the front line. Yes, now he was the front liner.
So to remove Jokotola Pelumi.
When is Banire said so? And even Jokotola Pelumi.
So please let's understand how and where we are going with our conversation on political roundtable. So we understand it's all about we understand the emotions and sentiments that comes from this thing, but on today's issue, and that's why I always give where we are going with our conversation. That look, what are the intrigues within the party? And I also gave a long list of the areas we are looking at the issue from. Well, whether the APC is good for Lagos or that's a different conversation. But what we are talking about today is that look, as a politician that moved from being a councillor to being a speaker, who was supposed to be the oldest speaker, the longest serving speaker, how did it all go wrong for him? That was the conversation. Whether APC is good for Lagos or not, it's a conversation for another day. I hope we are clear on that.
And he should also note,
yes,
Obasa was removed constitutionally.
Of course.
So it's not even about they don't have 2/3 and they remove it.
Let me even tell you, the House members can say it's too fat. We don't want him again and impeach him.
And the law does not stop them from
No, it's a political tool.
As far as speakership,
and there are no constitutional provisions that listed out the process other than saying you need to have thought.
The one they say they are not okay with you, that's the end. Okay. That's all. Well, I think we've been able to clear. Let's really take some of the messages we have. We probably will just reduce some of them because some of them are too long. We have 𝐴bdurrafiu who is always going to be our first person to drop a message. He's also an APC member, so I'm sure you'll be interested in this Obasa matter. Well, good evening to you all. Ogbeni Alabalakwe from Sabo Ijewoniba-Ojo, Emir of Kano, Alhaji Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, and some of his bitterness comments sometimes. Look, we all know SLS. Well, and because I have to just reduce some of those messages. It's too long, please. Okay, he's still on Sanusi and he's saying that we can go to him and make his thoughts known to Tinubu. And lastly, all what is happening to the Labour Party, Peter Obi should be held responsible. He has failed his leadership to manage ordinary party, God take control. That's from 𝐴bdurrafiu. Then we have Ibrahim Abba saying, good evening, gentlemen in the studio. My special greetings to you, Fuad, Barrister, and Nuruddin, and others in the studio. Thanks for enlightening us every week on the Roundtable, the only platform that I don't want to miss, all the way from Maiduguri, Borno State. Thank you so much, Ibrahim Abba, for the love and loyalty too to the show. We have Obiora Izechukwu saying, good evening, the panelists. One thing I know is that many more people like Emir Sanusi will come out more to talk bad about this president government, because many has come to realize that it doesn't have much to offer Nigerians. God bless Nigeria. We have Osi Morawi saluting and Moradas all the way from Ikeja Cantonment. We have Andose Campbell saying, I greet you all. Emir Sanusi is just someone who likes to be in the news all the time. His so-called disappearance of $20 billion in 2014, amount that was almost equivalent to then annual budget of Nigeria, was a huge lie, and we knew it. Many people in his camp then recently revealed he was telling lies. How come Buhari's administration did not investigate the so-called fraud? But what about arresting people for 50 kobo? Okay. During his tenure, he was busy rolling out monies to universities in the core north. Bayero University received 500 million of his largesse. Well, okay. But
the APC used it against the ruling
party at that time, and it worked. Well, it should not. Well, maybe the emir should at no point should allow himself be used as a political tool. Maybe that's a lesson for him too.
When he got there through political training,
because some people will also see him now as
a political tool. So that's why they are going after him. Yes. So maybe he should just keep quiet.
Yes. It will serve him well.
Okay, if you keep. That's what Ganduje is saying.
It's going to be very hard.
Okay.
You will see another one.
Okay, all right. So Oloyede Oluwaseun James is saying, good evening to all the wise men in the studio. As far as Nigeria is concerned, Emir Sanusi has the right to speak truth to power, because he had a listening ear to the cry of the poor, Nigerians in the core north and Nigerians at large. Then James Nwanchi is saying, my distinguished gentlemen in the studio, I greet you tenaciously. I want to say that traditional institution is no longer sweet, as I grew up to know it in those village films. I thought that traditional stools had nothing to do with government interference, but purely a matter for the gods. Now seeing people take kinship matter to court, and then a state governor presenting staff of office, makes it no longer sweet for me. Well, you said you saw it in the film. The film is not always reality. And for Mudashi Obasa, he should not bother contesting in 2027, because he won't get even his constituency in Agege back unless he goes back to appeal to Jagaban. That's James Ogbonna from Oshodi. And then we have Atodaka Samuel saying, great talk today, and absolutely frank talk. The truth of the matter for the impeachment of Honorable Obasa is not about 2027, but the resultant abuse of his office against the governor and the kingmakers. Thank God that Governor Sanwo-Olu is really a gentleman to the core, else that day could have been the last day the house will sit. Therefore, the impeachment process started that December period. We have Kabiru Adegbenro, saying, good evening, Mr. Fuad, and other guests in the studio. Kudos to you all. Honestly, I really enjoyed how you analyzed Obasa's action while he was Speaker of Lagos House of Assembly. Yoruba will say, Iwa Afọwọ́fà ẹni. He was responsible for his impeachment. God bless my country, Nigeria. We have Oluwafe saying, I greet everybody in the studio. Olalekoni, you're welcome back. I really miss your unbiased and honest analysis despite being APC members. You see, try and balance your views on Sanusi. Sanusi is not qualified to criticize. You think so? You are saying somebody is biased. It is your comment. Federal government, exactly, federal government, it recommends all this economic policy to be implementing today. Floating of Naira subsidy should try and bring all these Alimaji roaming around the streets of Kano back to the school. If you listen to him very well, he might have recommended the policy. What about the implementation? You recommend the policy.
If you even know the number of children
yeah,
that through him have gone back to school, you won't be saying what he's saying.
So you probably also have to look at your own comments too, whether he's biased or not. Prince Sunday is saying, "Good evening, my personal person that puts all poor Nigerians in their heart. May God bless you all, Mainland FM for me." Then we have Bamidele Adejare, who is saying, "Honorable Obasa was carried away by the money and position, but power is important. Political power impeach him. That's the lesson." Okay. Omoni Tokode saying, "I strongly believe Obasa's confidence in the House was too much, and that gave him the leverage to act in some of the ways he did. To him now, his impeachment is a betrayal of the trust of his colleagues." Then we have Lukman Oladipupo saying, "Greetings from Dakar, Senegal. I do appreciate your analysis. The genesis of Obasa and Governor Sanwo-Olu was when the governor supported another person to be the speaker. And when Obasa got to know, he was so sad about it, and that was why he rejected some commissioners from the governor. Well, Nigerian politics irritates me because it's all about their own personal interests. I beg."
So,
and then,
so if the governor supported another person
and you've won,
and he prevailed, why won't he close the gap between him and the governor
and just move on
and work in the interest of the people? This is the politics of personality.
And that's also wisdom.
And the governor is not holding anything against him.
Yes.
Notwithstanding, look, let's tell ourselves the truth. If it is not because of the peculiarity of Lagos politics, is there any state that you can emerge without the governor supporting you as speaker?
Not possible.
None.
Never possible.
Not possible.
It's not possible.
All right, we have the world saying the Emir of Kano says the truth, and we should always expect critics when you do wrong and praise when you do right. The president should not always respond to criticisms. Obasa was being too confident, and it's led him being on the chopping board. The caller is well known, and he will call again and criticize you guys again and again. Okay. All right, let's go back to taking calls. Maybe we can squeeze in 2 or 3 more calls before we call it today on the show this evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello, Mr. Fuad.
Yes, good evening, sir.
The member of the panel.
Yes.
It's Kenny from Mushin again.
No, Mr.
I
Kenny.
just want to correct one impression you said the other time.
Yes.
Obasa is not the longest serving speaker.
He was almost going to be the longest serving. That's
if you
what
finish this,
he would have been the longest serving.
This year.
Even if he had finished this year.
Tᴏɪᴛᴛᴇʀ completed his 10 years.
We know.
Obasa is 9 years, 7 months now.
Yes.
We knew.
If he had gone 10 years,
I said this year.
Yes, he would have. He would have been the longest serving. That's
what completed 10 years.
Yes. That's what we're saying.
9 years, 7 months.
Yes.
If he had completed this year, he would have been the longest serving. That's what we said. All right. Thank you, Mr. Kenny. Hello, good evening. Okay, 09136000410. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Fuad.
Yes, sir.
It's Abdullah from Malaba.
All right.
I greet the wise men in the house.
I greet you too.
The thing is just that political power cannot make what they cannot destroy. Exactly what is happening to Obasa in Lagos here. And part of it to Emir Sanusi. The thing is just that they can't fight the power that brought them to that grant. It might be, in fact, it's better for him to just keep quiet and go back to God. He has but there's nothing he can fight against.
Not to the people. You should go back to God.
I'm telling you. It's going to go back to God.
Okay.
I have to repent completely. And for Emir can talk. If what he's saying is true, but the power that brought him to that ground, that once actually empowered him to that length, they will never listen to him. And if he talks too much, they will not back alone. They will fight him. So be careful.
All right. Thank you. All right. We can still squeeze in 2 more calls before going the day on the show. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
Mr. Fuad.
Good evening,
and
sir.
Gentlemen in the studio.
Yes.
I'm Larry Bashir.
From K2, right?
Well, yeah, from K2.
All right. Please go on, Mr. Larry Bashir. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So absurd that right now, so Emir Sanusi is now so arrogant. When that man was attacking Jonathan, lying against Jonathan at 2.something billion,
20 billion.
20-something billion, yeah.
Tell you, no proof. That time, it was with them. They're so happy. Don't think nothing was wrong with that. And let me tell you, it's not only Emir Sanusi that is criticizing this. One of the what's man from Monisha? It's so sad. This politicians should stop milking Nigeria like a cow. At the point, the cow will die. That will not make people to start again. So if these people are talking, because of our political affiliation, we will be taking side. The problem of Nigeria is not even the politicians. It is we, poor Nigerians. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, Lai Bashir. All right. 09136000410. 09136000410. Hello. Good evening.
Hello.
Yes. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Fawaz.
Yes.
Happy New Year and a good evening to Barrister Curtis and then my new regime.
Your name? Where are you calling from, sir?
Oh, this is calling from Ejibu.
Sorry, the name again?
Minister Bestman calling from
Mr. Been a while, Mr. Minister Desmond.
It has been a while.
All right, please go on, sir.
Oh, Mr. Fawaz. Whenever I hear your voice, so brilliant and then vibrant, somebody like you sitting down there, and then they are usually said to play kalu kalu. Always praise me.
What do you want me to do? I should go and beat them.
You are so brilliant and vibrant.
And they are using the state to play kalu kalu. So what should I do?
I tune my radio to listen to you. When I sit down and listen to you, they are using your state to play or no man.
You should contest as Mr. Fuad.
There you see the problem. Okay, all right, thank you. You only wanted to come and drag me.
No contest.
I mean, contest. You want to kill me.
No,
hello, good evening.
Journalists don't contest.
I don't even get where the body will come from. Hello, good evening. Somebody is just keeping us on hold. Where did he end?
Deputy governorship candidate.
For Buruji Kashamu. Hello, good evening. Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
My name is Ade Michael from Shugunle.
Ade Michael from Shugunle. You need to speak up, sir.
Yes, sir.
Speak louder. We are struggling to hear you.
My own opinion about the involvement of traditional
rulers.
And I'm so surprised that some people are speaking against the involvement of our traditionals to the politics. I don't know, they are the custodian of the masses. At least they live in the midst of the people that are bearing the brunt of
the government policies.
And how many of these are our local chairmen that live in the people that they govern? So I believe that they are supposed to be the spokesperson
of the people.
Yes. And again, I want you to understand that there are some people in this country, there are some places that want the street of government cannot but
listen to them.
People like me now, if I say something now, they might say, who is that guy that is talking? But if somebody like Peter Obi to sneeze,
government will pay attention.
Tomorrow now we see reaction. So people should appreciate people like
Sanusi Lamido.
For their courage to speak up, to speak the truth of the power that's been. For their courage. To me personally, I feel more of Sanusi.
Okay.
Who can keep this government on
their toes.
Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you so much. And that will be the last call for the evening. Olalekoni, your final take on the show this evening.
God bless Nigeria.
Okay, God bless Nigeria. By Mr. Curtis Adigba, your final take.
Well, that to two people, Sanusi should keep speaking his truth. Say it in a manner that people can relate with. He should not be afraid. I mean, Emir is not his life. He still has his life outside of Emir. Number two, Obasa, you are only a leader of people. And if the same people say they don't want you, just allow things to be that way and then regroup. Okay, just allow things to be that way and then regroup. And then Nuruddin, your final take on the show this evening.
Well, for me, it's on Obasa. I want politicians to learn from his ordeal. Then at the same time, politicians should know they are just without people, they are nobody. So they should always be thinking about people so that when they have problem, they will see people that will stand with them. Okay, the politicians should think more about the people, because when problem comes, the people will stand for them and with them. Well, thank you so much, Olalekoni, for being a part of the show this evening. Thank you so much, Mr. Curtis Adigba. Thank you so much, Nuruddin Adigbe. It's been a brilliant conversation we've had. And to all our callers, thank you so much. For everyone that sent in a message on our YouTube and
Facebook platform, thank you so much for being a part of the show. This is where we call it a day on the show today. Let's do this again next week.